To be a slave girl is a curse, but to have beauty is even worse. Constantly beaten, bruised, and raped, this made it hard to keep the faith. And our worth wasn't in the cotton we picked or the tasks we were given, but in our breeding ability to produce more children. The cycle was vicious in many different ways. Along with the sacrifices we had to make each day, we were mentally bound by chains, waiting for the courage to finally escape this pain.
African American slavery was one of the most tragic stains on American history. Beginning in 1619, American slavery morphed into a culture of torturing, raping, beating, and murdering enslaved African Americans for centuries until the end of the Civil War in 1865. Harriet Ann Jacobs was a victim of some of these tragedies. She constantly suffered from sexual harassment and lived in fear what her master would do to her until she escaped from a plantation. When she escaped, she hid in her grandmother's attic where she lived in fear for 7 years.
I was born in a slave family, and to me, it was filled with glee. But I never would have imagined that my future would be filled with such misery. My world was lost and what I had was gone. I started to feel like I just couldn't move on. My parents and mistress died and I was sold to an abusive master. At this point, my life was a real disaster. 9 years later, I finally turned 15, but my master decided to try and take my purity. He came up to me and whispered foul things in my ear that no innocent young girl should ever have to hear.
In 1813, Harriet Ann Jacobs was born to her enslaved parents, Delilah and Daniel Jacobs, in Edenton, North Carolina. She was so sheltered as a child that she didn't realize she was a slave until she was 6 years old when her mother perished. Soon after, Harriet's mother's mistress took care of her until the mistress died also. Now 12 years old, Harriet was then passed down to her mistress's 2-year-old niece, which gave the father, Dr. Flint, ultimate ownership. When Harriet finally turned 15, Dr. Flint started sexually harassing her and commanded that she belong to him in every way, shape, and form.
And most people don't really know about stories like this, so we just kind of wanted to share it and also to empower young women like us.
And also, it's like when something bad happens now, people are just so quick to give up. She's been shot down so many times, sent to a plantation, had to give her body to a random man at the age of 15 years old just to get away of the sexual abuse that she was receiving. And it's just amazing how she didn't give up. She could have just submitted to him, but she didn't. She left. She's like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. And no? I feel like stories like this also are important because they kind of lead to today's tragic events about sexual trafficking. And we also had a young lady that went to our school that we knew. Her name was Taisha Bass, and she went missing, and now she's suspected of being kidnapped for sexual trafficking. So the story really hit home for us.